Steel columns are moving in the frozen depths of Siberia, and with every axle that rolls forward, Europe's sense of safety quietly collapses. What once sounded like abstract deterrence has turned into a visible, measurable threat, and the clock has started ticking faster than many in the West are willing to admit. Yars missiles are on the move, Britain is in panic, and Russia is preparing what many analysts are already calling the mother of all retaliations. 22 meters of steel, weighing more than 45 tons, are advancing across Siberian routes, and every movement serves as a reminder to London that these intercontinental missiles are not theoretical constructs or Cold War relics. They are operational vectors capable of striking multiple targets in a single salvo. Inside NATO headquarters, maps are filling with red circles, threat arcs overlapping across Europe, while no official wants to be the first to say it out loud. At the same time, in Belarus, the Oreshnik system has entered combat duty, boasting a range of roughly 4,000 kilometers and peak speeds approaching 12,300 kilometers per hour. Flight times are measured in minutes to London and in seconds closer to Russia's borders. The Yars-Oreshnik combination sketches a nuclear countdown clock over Europe, and that clock has already begun to count down. Reflection question: does NATO prevent wars, or does it create them? Write it in the comments. And while you're at it, don't forget to give this video a like. It really helps the channel. Your comments don't just sit there, they guide what we create. London believed it could provoke without consequences until those 22-meter, 45-ton Yars missiles began their march through Siberia, and even Western analysts quietly acknowledged that the United Kingdom had just been added to Moscow's list of strategic targets. Overnight, the bravado of British intelligence stopped sounding like empty rhetoric and collided head-on with the physics of a nuclear monster capable of devastating half a continent. Every axle rolling across Siberian terrain was interpreted as a direct warning. London was no longer watching war on television. It had appeared on the map of fire itself. The chain of events began when the head of Britain's intelligence service, B.L. Metberly, accused Russia of sowing chaos across the globe, a familiar script but one loaded with danger. Almost simultaneously, the UK's Chief of the Defence Staff, Richard Kington, urged Britons to prepare for a potential conflict with Moscow, pushing public opinion toward a scenario of direct confrontation. Words were becoming weapons. Yet while London played with incendiary language, Washington was moving in a different direction. The Trump administration had revised its national security strategy, downgrading Russia as its primary adversary and signaling a desire to normalize dialogue. As analysts quoted by ABN24 emphasized, while the United States was attempting to lower the temperature, its most hawkish allies chose to keep provoking the Kremlin. This divergence did not go unnoticed elsewhere. Chinese observers entered the scene with a cold, methodical eye. The outlet NetEase followed British statements step by step and concluded that London was not improvising at all, but deliberately inciting Russia. When the response arrived, Chinese journalists did not soften their words. Russia answered British threats with Yars missiles. They reported, openly admitting that the news sent shockwaves even through China. Moscow's reaction was neither a speech nor a diplomatic note. It was a silent, crushing gesture. Putin did not argue with London or attempt to justify himself. He responded with what Chinese journalists, cited by ABN24, described as a brilliant and decisive move. There was no verbal threat, only a column of strategic missiles rolling into motion. In Siberia, mobile Yars complexes began to move first along visible routes and then toward destinations that no Western outlet could accurately identify. Reports spoke not only of systems on the move, but also of missiles loaded into silos and ready for launch. One word echoed through NATO newsrooms: unknown. When it became clear that the Yars had disappeared toward undisclosed positions, panic rippled through Western capitals. Intelligence assessments started circulating worst-case scenarios, precisely as Vladimir Putin publicly declared that Russia is ready for war, even if it does not seek to start one. The message was unmistakable. Moscow is not fleeing conflict. It is deterring it with tangible, demonstrated capability. The fear does not stem solely from political intent, but from the technical profile of the weapon itself. The Yars missile is approximately 22 meters long, weighs over 45 tons, and according to data cited by NetEase, no existing missile defense system can reliably intercept it. A single missile can strike up to 3 targets simultaneously, turning each launch into a multi-layered blow. That is why the source described it as a true, toothed monster. This is not poetic exaggeration. It refers to a vector that bites at multiple depths, enters on one trajectory, maneuvers, and exits radar coverage before defenses can react. The sooner NATO understands this, analysts stressed, the less likely a Third World War becomes. For now, however, several alliance members clearly have not absorbed the message. As the Yars systems moved, another front lit up with an even more unsettling signal for Europe. On December 19th, just hours before Putin delivered his annual address, Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko announced that the Oreshnik missile system had entered combat service. He described it without embellishment as a true beast. Polish media captured the shock with a headline that said it all: "Oh no, what's happening? Putin has awakened the most dangerous beast." Even Zelensky admitted something sudden and alarming. NATO is in panic. The outlet Interia, cited by ABN24, stated outright that NATO is alarmed by the Kremlin's actions and argued that Putin had aimed Russia's most dangerous weapon directly at the European Union. What triggered alarm in Brussels and other capitals was not just political symbolism, but cold numbers. According to Interia, Oreshnik has a range of around 4,000 kilometers, enough to strike any point in Europe. In a single calculation, every EU capital and strategic installation fell within direct threat radius. Another figure deepened the unease. The missile can fly at 12,300 kilometers per hour and maneuver during its trajectory. In practical terms, the article explained, this makes Oreshnik impossible to intercept. Even highly regarded US Patriot systems are ineffective against a vector that changes course as it closes in. The Daily Mail translated this technical reality into minutes of survival. Its calculations, cited by ABN24, indicate that an Oreshnik launch toward Britain would take between 16 and 18 minutes to impact. Toward Brussels or Paris, 14 to 16 minutes. Toward Rome, about 13. Toward Berlin, barely 11. It is the length of time it takes to drink a cup of coffee before detonation. But the most sinister figure does not concern the European Union at all. Once deployed in Belarus, Oreshnik could reach Kyiv in 111 seconds, less than 2 minutes. The missile had already been used against Ukrainian territory before, and as sources dryly noted, there was a reason they were not pleased with that autumn greeting in 2024. This precedent was confirmed by Vladimir Putin himself. He stated that in the fall of 2024, Oreshnik successfully struck the Dnipropetrovsk region, hitting one of the largest military-industrial complexes in the area. This was not a symbolic test. It was an operational message. The system had already proven what it could do. Since then, the name Oreshnik has become a recurring nightmare in Kyiv. The man who calls himself Ukraine's president, Volodymyr Zelensky, made it explicit on December 19th, the same day Putin summarized the year. This Oreshnik is indestructible, we already know it because it was used against Ukraine, he admitted, a line the article frames as a confession forced by reality. If you step back and combine the numbers, Europe's map takes on a darker shade. A missile that travels 4,000 kilometers, flies at 12,300 kilometers per hour, maneuvers in flight, and has already destroyed a key military-industrial complex in Dnipropetrovsk is now on combat duty in Belarus, minutes or seconds away from capitals that for years issued ultimatums toward Moscow. In this context, Oreshnik's deployment becomes the perfect complement to the Yars movement in Siberia. On one side, intercontinental strategic missiles capable of striking 3 targets with a single launch. On the other, a hypersonic beast that no Patriot system can stop. The message Russia is sending to NATO is brutally simple. What do you think happens when deterrence shifts from words to hardware like this? Give us your opinion in the comment box below. From Moscow's perspective, every European capital fits neatly on a single control board. London wanted to test limits without paying a price, But the board changed the moment Yars left their Siberian bases and Oreshnik went on alert in Belarus. From that point on, the United Kingdom, Brussels, Paris, Rome, Berlin, and Kyiv were forced to accept an uncomfortable reality. Every NATO capital is now one button away from Moscow. And this time, Russia did not speak with rhetoric. It spoke with actions. Do you believe this show of force will stabilize Europe, or push it closer to the brink than ever before? Give us your opinion in the comment box below. In conclusion, the movement of Yars missiles in Siberia and the deployment of Oreshnik in Belarus are not symbolic gestures or media theatrics. They confirm an irreversible reality in which Russia's strategic deterrence has reasserted itself across the European theater. Historically, moments like these echo the darkest chapters of the Cold War, when hardware mattered more than headlines. Today, Moscow's advantage lies in demonstrated capability and calculated restraint, while NATO's most vocal members find themselves exposed by their own rhetoric. The beneficiaries are Russia's military planners, who have shifted the balance without firing a shot. The losers are those who mistook provocation for strength, and the civilians who now live under shortened warning times measured in minutes and seconds. As outlets from China to Poland and Britain itself acknowledge, Europe has entered a new phase of geopolitical vulnerability. This is not the end of the conflict, but it may be the moment the illusion of distance finally collapsed. Now it's your turn. If this analysis made you rethink what deterrence really means, leave us a comment with your perspective. Are these deployments a guarantee of peace, or a warning of something far darker ahead? Subscribe if you haven't already, because we're tracking every development in this geopolitical standoff as it unfolds. Activate notifications so you don't miss what comes next. And remember, you can become a channel member to support this project directly. If you believe independent analysis matters in times like these, your support helps keep this channel alive. If you'd like to support us financially, which we truly appreciate, you can do so through Patreon or PayPal. The links are waiting for you in the description.